Nearly 40% of asylum seekers housed at controversial ex-RAF sites are torture victims. I'm going to read into this piece from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Byline Times with the headline that nearly 40% of asylum seekers housed at controversial ex-RAF sites are torture victims. Some 580 seekers are housed at RAF Wethersfield, where radiological contamination and unexploded ordnance have been found. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. We talked in the past about RAF Wakefield. We've covered it, whether it's been on live streams or on the videos, about the problems of housing asylum seekers there. There was one other site that they were looking to house where they found it was just too unsafe. This was under the Conservatives at the time as well. They were looking to put them in some of the most deplorable and inhumane conditions possible. Now, putting aside, I really do want to put aside, the conditions that British people are going through right now, because yes, that is a topic, but that's not what we're discussing here. We're talking about specifically asylum seekers. And while this government, and I say this government, is actually trying to process these claims of whether they asylum application is successful or unsuccessful, and they have deported quite a huge amount of already since they've come into power. The Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has been really has actually done a really good job when it comes to dealing with these asylum applications in terms of numbers being cleared. One of the other things that I have to give praise to this government for is getting rid of that stupid waste of taxpayer money, the floating boat. I can't remember its goddamn name, but they have been making progress and on that. But then there is also the other side, that because we've had an increase of influx this year of migrants, especially of those coming across on the boats, we've also had to open up more hotels as a direct result of it. Now, they have said that they will get all. Their plan is by the next election, there wouldn't be any housing, any hotels whatsoever. That's what they stated. So just because they're going up now doesn't mean that they won't go down later. So I think we need to, obviously, I know people are already calling for Labour's head. I think we need to see over time how they deal with that. And we're talking about those who are crossing the boats. We're not talking about those where we need... No, I'm not talking about legal migration where we need people to come and work in some of the sections and the areas that we need workers for. For example, builders to help us build the 1.5 million homes, more doctors and nurses to help us fix up our NHS, and other departments and sectors that where we're lacking in workforce, critical workforce here, where we need to bring those abroad in when we don't have the skills and the workers ourselves here to cover those gaps. But putting that all aside, here now, obviously, I've had people in the comments claiming that they're not torture victims, that it's completely untrue, they don't know what they're talking about, sort of thing. That it's nonsense, basically, that anyone can claim to be a torture victim. Here is my response to that. You don't know what these people are going through. I don't know what these people are going through, and this negative perception that you have about these people, regardless, what is the benefit of them lying? What, to stop them getting deported? I suppose is that your answer? If they want to contribute, if they want to work, if they want to pay their taxes, why is that such a bad thing? Now, are there some that who may go into a life of crime? It is possible. But the vast majority, since for as far as I've been known, is that most of them come in wanting to work and contribute to society. That's been mainly the case. And when someone claims they are a victim of torture or a victim of abuse or whatever, you're supposed to take it seriously. You're supposed to take it seriously. You have to take it seriously. You shouldn't be coming straight in. The first mindset is questioning that person or doubting that person. You should want to try and understand and try and help that person, because it's in our humanity to do that, to help other people. It's what makes us human. It's really, really important for people to understand that. But for some, they don't see that. They just see them as, they don't see them as British. They don't see them as humans. They just see them as someone looking to take their livelihoods, which is not the case at all. But I know I'm going to continue to have this argument with people till the cows come home. But these people, wherever their background from, whatever they claim, we should always take it very seriously. So nearly 40% of asylum seekers living at a former military site in Essex are survivors of torture, meaning they are not fit to live at the site, campaigners have warned. So new research by the Doctors of the World and Medecins Sans Frontières, the MSF, reveals that 39% of the 580 asylum seekers, 226, housed at RAF Wethersfield in Braintree, survived torture. The two organisations are calling for the site to be closed, warning it feels like a prison and it looks like a prison, and further suggest it is not equipped to deal with mental health difficulties. They also warned in a briefing to media last month that many of the asylum seekers are wearing flip-flops and very thin jumpers as temperatures fall below freezing in parts of the UK. Yeah, I know some people would like these people to be put in these conditions, but it's not. These are not prisoners. These are not prisoners. Okay, these are asylum claimants. Yeah, and until they just should not be treated in any way, shape, or form as prisoners. And it's ridiculous to suggest that they've broken any kinds of laws as well, because there is no such thing as illegal migration. It's a term that's been made up. You know, I keep hearing that term, that made up term, all the time to try and demeanor people. There is no such thing as illegal migration. You know, this is here, flip flops and very thin jumpers. Like what kind of situation is that? And clearly, those who are looking after them don't really care about their well-being. The site has been condemned as unsafe since it opened in 2023, particularly after a report by the Ministry of Defence published earlier this year warning that Wethersfield is home to unexploded ordnance and radiological contamination due to how it was previously used. Jacob Burns, UK Operation Migration Project Manager, MSF, said asylum seekers at Wethersfield tend to be incredibly vulnerable because of what they experience in their home countries during their migration route to the UK. Then they're being re-traumatised again by being housed in a place like Wethersfield, which feels like a prison, he told Byline Times. So according to research by MSF and Doctors of the World, 1 in 4 people at Wethersfield have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, while 41% have experienced suicidal thoughts while at the site. And guess what happens, if that makes them worse, guess who has to deal with them? Our doctors and nurses, because we put them in such horrible conditions. There's a contribution that the Conservatives have done. It's disgusting. Why would you want to be put in a prison when you've committed no crime? More than 70% of men who've attended the mobile clinic at Wethersfield, run by Doctors of the World, have shown signs of severe psychological distress, the charity found. The media briefing also included testimonies from 3 residents at Wethersfield, one of whom said they knew of 10 people who had tried to take their own lives while there. I feel like I'm always in an empty, dark place because I don't know what's going to happen, the 23-year-old man said. He added that it is very isolating, as it is a half an hour walk to the nearest town, saying we cannot do anything, just be here. They do not treat us like human beings from the day we arrived. The man who gave anonymous testimony added that he had lost my chance of having a life. Up until late 2023, torture and rape survivors could be housed at sites like Wethersfield, but in January, the Home Office policy changed. It meant it could still send them to those sites if it decided there's a proportionate amount of support available. So during the briefing, the organisation also flagged concerns over the cold weeks after snow fell in parts of South Essex in mid-November. The Met Office issued a yellow weather warning for ice across the east of England, including all of Essex. We're very worried about the cold, says Dr. Emma Whitcomb, who runs the mobile clinic and is a doctor of the medical advocacy manager at Doctors of the World. Most of the asylum seekers living in that Wethersfield, all single men, are sent to this site very quickly after they arrive in the UK, she said. That leaves a lot of them with very unsuitable clothing or limited to the Home Office clothing. One of the testimonies provided a 41-year-old man said he was already not in a quiet place, nor a safe place, even with reduced capacity. It's having a real impact on my health, the lack of freedom, it's impacting my sleep, he added. Though some charities such as Care for Callous provided some warm clothes, the more people there are in the camp, the less there is to go around. There are plans to increase the site's capacity, which is limited to 580. There's now set to rise to 800, with a surge capacity of 1,220. In April, the Home Office received planning permission to increase Wethersfield capacity to 1,700, though it said that the cap will regularly occupying to 800 to maintain absolute focus on service delivery. To get the extra planning permission, the department carried out a survey on the ground conditions after concerns were raised about the presence of toxic substance in the soil and groundwater. At the site, it was used for military training for several decades, but there are still concerns that the site is not safe enough for the capacity to be expanded, and that funding to support the asylum seekers, already limited, will be further stretched if the capacity is further increased. Marina Wigby, Director and Operational Lead at Refugee, Asylum Seeker and Migration Action, RAMA, a local refugee support organisation which primarily works with asylum seekers living in places like Colchester, told Byline Times that she's concerned there will be no extra funding to help support the extra asylum seekers. If they are now going to be 800 people instead of 580, who are going to be bussed into Chelmsford, to Colchester and to Braintree during the week, it will have significant impact on those areas, he said. None of us will get the funding for that, and we will be left dealing with people who don't feel that they can even reach the welfare teams on site. Currently, 2 members of her staff are supporting the asylum seekers housed at Wethersfield for half a day by giving out SIM cards. Excuse me. Welby doesn't think she'll be able to continue doing that, as the number of asylum seekers Rama is supported in towns in Essex is set to more than double to 600 in early 2025. She also claimed that the $2.5 million handed to local Braintree District Council to support asylum seekers in Wethersfield has only spent $50,000 so far on activities, most of which are now over. And it's a tiny drop in the ocean, and there's so much more that can be done, she said. The leaders of Braintree District Council, the councillor Graham Bulland, said the Home Office grant for the council and Essex County Council to fulfil their statutory responsibilities related to the site is set out in the grand instructions. This has been clearly communicated with the voluntary and communal sections of VCS organisations. Despite that, we did allocate some funding for VCS activity on site as an interim arrangement due to an acute need at the time, to give the Home Office in Clear Springs the time they required to commission their own arrangements for activity and support for service users. Butland said that any non-statutory spend must be agreed with the Home Office, and we have been working for over a year to request permission to spend funds on areas that impacted the community as a result of the site. Despite our constant opposition to the asylum centre due to its isolated location, the lack of capacity in local service and the scale of development, we, along with other partners, continue to seek assurances from the Home Office and their contractors that Wethersfield is a site that is self-sufficient as possible. During the briefing, the experts also warned that sites like Wethersfield are not the answer to housing asylum seekers. Though the Home Office, then run by the former Conservative government, expected to save around £94 million by using large sites like Wethersfield rather than hotels, the National Audit Office in March found that actually it would cost £46 million more. Anna Miller, the Health Policy and Advocacy at Doctors of the World, added that with just 4% of the UK asylum seekers residing at sites like Wethersfield, and those similar sites are not practical solutions. And she pointed out, in March 2023, when the Home Office was housing 54,000 asylum seekers, Wethersfield and 2 similar sites were only housing 2,000 people, just over 4% of the total. I've really challenged the idea of that the large sites are practical solutions and that it is a cost-effective solution to the problem, Miller said. She did, however, welcome the current government's decision to close sites like Wethersfield and the Bibby Stockholm in January. That's it, the Bibby Stockholm, when I said boat. Miller added that the government's push to process more asylum claims may have led to mental health getting slightly better in Wethersfield. The overall view is that people are seeing other people having their claims processed, moving on and moving out of the site, beginning to give people more hope around the future. That's definitely a positive development that is very much welcome, she explained. Miller called for the government to close Wethersfield as soon as possible, rather than move forward with the plans to increase its capacity. The Home Office, at the time of this article, has not responded to requests for comment. I'm a bit confused there. It says it's welcome decision to close sites like Wethersfield, but it has sites like Wethersfield there, but it's not actually closing Wethersfield, and they're increasing it. But the BB Stockholm, yes, is closing next month. That is for sure. That is something they have stated there as well. I think on that, but yeah, like I said at the start of the video, that they are making progress on migration, but obviously there is this issue of capacity, and it's becoming problematic. And it is, like I said, like with everything, whenever a new government or a new political party comes in, it takes time, and the problem is people are very impatient. And I know people are already kicking and screaming, saying, "Well, they've had 6 months, they've had 8 months." Yes. Well, next year they will have a full year, and there will be no excuses, will there, to see what they do. So we have, I'm still prepared to give Labour the bit of benefit of the doubt on immigration. I know some people are not, because they already think Nigel Farage is going to solve all their problems. But for me, the mental health and the well-being, that's a big factor, especially when we have enough issues. Let's not make it worse for them, because then it becomes a bigger strain for us to have to deal with. We want to make sure they're in least decent, humane conditions, and clearly doesn't seem to be the case at the Wethersfield site. That seems to be. This is not the first time I've talked about that site, and I'm sure it may not be the last time either. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you guys make of the situation? Around nearly 40% of asylum seekers are housed at controversial ex-RAF sites. I'll torture victims. Let me know your thoughts and more on this story down in the comment section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further, financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.